There we are. I didn't think I was going to get everything done. I was spending too much time screwing around on the social media. So I got it done. And we are live, Jiggy Jaguar Experience, live each and every Sunday here on Radio Xenu. Also, TalkRadioX.com. Our good friends, KJagRadio.com as well. WDSP FM 1019 The Fox in Carolina. Also 92.3 FM and AM 1670 in Casper, Wyoming, K-Rocks Radio, and KFRK Denver and Colorado, as well as 50-plus stations across the U.S. and Canada. Jiggy Jag with you, Jigman Freud. Of course, we have in studio Chris Clemmons with us today. He is running on the libertarian side of the coin. We're going to talk to him here in a few moments, but we also have on the telephone, he has been a busy bee working on albums with all of his label mates. Izreal, what's going on, sir?
What's happening? What's up, Dick?
You have been a busy bee working on all this stuff. What are these new albums coming out, man?
Man, it's crazy, man, because, you gave me a platform. And, I was always this cool and fresh before, but, K-Jack helped, really put a spotlight on what we do at Blockstar, man, and the response has been great. So, man, I've been, crazy busy. Right now, Up Here's album, the Love album is out by P. Allen. It's on iTunes. It's on Google Play. And the album's been getting great response, and it's been crazy. The first week sales was, the best that the label's had so far. And we hoping to continue that success with TP. TP dropping his album, and it's looking like it's going to come out late summer. We don't try to put too much stock into dates. It's better just to have a quality project, whenever it come out, because you can release a new album every week and still suck, like a lot of the rappers. But we won't even go there.
We've got my man Izreal on the telephone, and we've got in studio Chris Clemmons. We were also scheduled today to be joined by a few of our a few musicians, but they I'm not sure where they went. I'm not sure if they got lost in South Hutch. I don't know. I should be, if they did get lost, I should be getting texts here very soon. But Izreal is not just a rapper, not just a producer, not just a songwriter. He's an activist. He's a best-selling author, and he's been on national radio programs talking politics and also talking about his book that he wrote a few years ago. And I knew this would be perfect, just a perfect opportunity. So we got Chris in studio.
Too.
Oh well, that too. That too. But
that's what I'm the best at.
Well, that seems to be the prevailing wisdom there, my friend. Now, Chris, give us a little bit of education on yourself, my friend, and then I'm going to let you and Izreal talk politics here, and I'll jump in from time to time.
I grew up in Leavenworth and Lansing, Kansas.
I can't hear him.
Okay, hold up. I'm working on the mics as we speak. Go ahead and keep talking, Chris.
All right. So, anyways, I grew up in Leavenworth, Kansas, and Lansing, Kansas. My family's been around the area, in the Leavenworth area, since the 1850s. But I went to college thinking I was going to be an engineer. Went to K-State for a year or so. Really tried to find exactly what it was I wanted to do with my life. I thought the engineering thing was fun. I liked science and all that stuff. And I kind of assumed it was going to be a pretty cool gig. But for whatever reason, while I was in the engineering program, I kind of changed. I kind of had a change of heart. And there was something I knew was kind of missing in my choice, so to speak, in my decision to become an engineer. So I ended up going to KU and trying out geology. And from getting into
I think we lost you, Chris, because I can't hear you in the headphones anymore. Something happened.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
All right, we're there. All right. So, anyways,
Did you hear him, Izreal? Barely. Hey,
Good.
Actually, Chris, why don't you switch over here to this microphone?
All right, I'll do that.
On the desk here. I rerouted the studio yesterday. We had our Lhasa band in here because they had to have a drummer and a whole bunch of other crap. So I don't know who brings drums to an acoustic set, Izreal. That's the thing. I don't know, man. No, I do not have headphones. You may have to drag them. It's possible. Like I said, we had 2 bands in here yesterday. We did a live set, and we ended up having a lot of issues. I tried to get them figured out last night, but just have not been able to. So maybe with Chris switching microphones.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear him now, Izreal?
I can. Good.
There we go.
Okay, sweet. So,
So I heard Northwest Kansas.
yeah, so I ended up going to Kansas, KU, and I got into the geology program there, and, because again, I'm a huge science fan. I've always been very interested in understanding kind of the nature of how the world works and how the fundamentals of reality and all that stuff kind of come into play. But I also went into the geology program understanding that I want to be a teacher. And I want to be a teacher because obviously I had some really fantastic teachers in my life, but I understood that if I wanted to make a good, positive change for the world, that was the place to do it. And I really got deep and heavy into teaching, and I started teaching at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Started up a gardening program, an outdoor education program, got my kids outside, and just trying to build this kind of biophilia in my students, to try and get them to have the same love for the natural world and stuff that I had. And in terms of the politics portion, as I became a teacher and I had more free time to kind of start exploring ideas and exploring what was going on around me, I started to really realize that that story that I had been told all through my middle school and high school years of, the Constitution is this document that's untouchable. It's the law of the land. It's what makes us such a great country. Started to realize that our politicians no longer really cared so much, or really adhered to the vows that they took when they entered office to uphold and protect the Constitution. And that really kind of spurred my interest in politics, and really kind of got me going down the rabbit hole of just finding out how absolutely crazy and schizophrenic our country and our government has become. So as I continued to kind of get interested in this stuff, and I got to give a huge shout out to the late Bill Hicks, because he really kind of opened my mind on a lot of ideas. But I really started coming to the conclusion that nobody else was going to try and make a positive change for our country. All of our politicians are bought at this point, and somebody had to stand up and do something about it. And that's really what got me into the political arena, so to speak. So after the Edward Snowden releases that came out, I finally said, you know what, this is the time. Somebody's got to do something, and that's when I put my name in the hat for the Libertarian Party.
Well, Chris, I like to say it's definitely great that you're getting involved, and I feel like regardless to whatever anyone's political views are, I'm okay with them as long as they're actively doing something, because most people just want to complain, but they don't actually take the time to do anything. But I just want to clarify, get a clarification for some of the things that you said, because it's hard for me as a black male to believe that our government will be schizophrenic or afraid of things. And we all know that Eric Snowden, that guy, he's wacko. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's trying to frame our poor innocent government to be this big monster that it's not. The government just wants to be our friends, and sometimes we all need a friend, even if that friend's a scary, monster who wants to take all your tax money and, molest your rights. You understand?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, obviously at the end of the day, these politicians, they do have to be seen in a positive light amongst their constituents, amongst the voters, or they're not going to make it back into office, right? So to an extent, you're kind of right. The government just wants to be our friend, but only until Election Day, and then after Election Day,
yes,
all bets are off. It's
yeah,
you can go to like opensecrets.org and look at just about any candidate out there, and you can look at their main 5-10 contributors, and that will tell you exactly whose side those politicians are on. And you know, I've been following and reading all these bills, or trying to keep up with all the bills that are going past the House of Representatives in the last year and a half. And I will tell you, you know, you go down the list and you look at some of these bills where they're going to try and lease out our public land to be fracked for oil and natural gas. You know, we're talking about our national parks, some of the most pristine natural places in the world, and our politicians want to frack there, and they want to come in and inject poison into the ground. And
well, I tried to tell people about that, Chris, and like, you know, I tried to explain to them. It's like, well, you know, we're over in these foreign countries and we're getting the oil. I was like, look, it's better that we frack their parks than my park, okay? Because my kids can't play at a park that's fracked for oil. So I'd rather you do it to some Saudi kid, because then it's better for me. See, we just got to decide what it is that we want. I mean, you know, like, I totally understand. I think that we're just misunderstanding, and the public in general is, we're not able to make choices for ourselves. Who are me or you? You know, you went to K-State, I went to Wichita State. Who are we to think that we can think for ourselves? I mean, we have the government for that. That they think for us, and they make all the right decisions for us. And most of us are fine by it, you know?
I tell you what, man.
What was that?
I was going to say, I tell you what, man, you know, being in an education system today, you know, you rarely see teachers trying to teach children to think for themselves, and it's really interesting to see where our education system is right now, and compare that to our populace, and see how they just don't want the responsibility to think for themselves and to take responsibility for their vote and to take responsibility for their actions, because there's this big entity over here that's going to handle it all for you, right?
Well, yeah, and if you do your own thinking, then you'll clutter your brain with useless information, and how will you remember, like, the cheat code for Grand Theft Auto or something important, you know?
I know what you're saying exactly, man.
We got to think about these things. In all seriousness, I think that I started off in the business school at Wichita State, and you know, just 100%, I was in it for the money. I wanted to make big money, and I had to realize that that wasn't everything. So I kind of migrated over to the political science department after taking a class with a teacher who I totally disagreed with. And what I've come to learn is that all politicians, from your city councilman up to the president, are pretty much middlemen for the elite who want to run the country. They're basically secretaries. So they only do what they're told or what they're allowed to do. So they use different tricks to separate us in our society. You're middle class, you're white, you're black, you're gay, you're this or that. When it's the common thing that we all have is that we're all human beings. As long as we continue to be divided, then we won't be able to, you know, see the truth of what's going on and all the bullshit that is happening. No, the Constitution doesn't mean anything anymore. And it never did. It's just a piece of paper. It's the ideals that you embody that makes the document important. And I think that's what we've forgotten. We've become so bureaucratic, and we always want to do what's best for the system, but the system is disadvantaging us, and we don't see that. I think that the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, they're basically 2 points on the same end of the spectrum. I think the Libertarian Party, the Independent Party, the Green Party, I think that one thing that they can do to help their party overall is pull talent from the talent base that isn't being used properly, and that's the minorities. The Republican Party and the Democratic Party come courting blacks and different things when it's to their advantage. Like, if we all want to be just realistic about it, there's no way 50 years ago the Republican Party would have chose or even, like, entertained Herman Cain. But guess what? The Democrats had Barack, the Republicans had to have Herman Cain. Let's just cut the bullshit and really get to what it is. I think the Libertarian Party could do a greater job by pulling from the people who are being disenfranchised. Your blacks, your Mexicans, your other minority groups that are being locked out of the system. These are a great talent base that do want to participate in the system, but they're being locked out. And that's what I think.
Well,
for whatever that's worth.
And I'm not going to sit there and disagree with your assessment on things, because I think there's a lot of truth behind what you just said, and especially when it comes down to, we have a system right now, not just in government but in media, that has done such a good job at keeping the body of citizens in this country separate from one another. We have gotten to the point where you're a liberal and you're a Republican, or you're on this side, you're on that side, and every single argument that they want to frame is there's only two sides of this argument. We're only going to hit the first 5 minutes of this idea, and then we're going to move on before we get into any actual, the meat of the actual issues that are at hand. And if you look, the largest party or the largest group of voters in the country right now are independents. The Republicans and the Democrats are hemorrhaging people and support right now. And obviously we can talk about black or Hispanic or whatever, but what we have to do as a country is get out of this haze that we have, this cloud that's hanging over everybody, this corporate media. We have to break apart from that and understand that these people are feeding us information to keep us separated and from actually pushing our country in a positive direction. And
absolutely,
we have to stop labeling ourselves as this or that and just recognize the fact that we're human beings, and number one, we're Americans, and we're all in this together one way or another.
No, I totally agree. And I think that the truth of the matter is, I'm 32 years old. The truth of the matter is, my parents, they didn't have any white friends outside of work. And my white friends, their parents didn't have any black friends outside of work. Now, you get to our generation where we grew up going to integrated schools, so the way that we view the world is totally different. And then when you introduce YouTube, you get to see that, you know what, this 16-year-old kid in Bangladesh really isn't much different than a 16-year-old kid in Ireland, for example. You're right, we're all human beings at the end of the day. And I think that the actual majority of people feel just like me and you. But you're correct that the media takes the minority and they make it seem like it's the majority. And I think that the most important thing that we can do right now in to change things is, one, stay positive, and two, not participate. Don't participate in bullshit. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, if I'm coming to sell you something, I go knock on your door, and you know what I'm selling you is BS, why would you buy it? Just don't participate in it. I think that's our problem. We feel like, we got to participate. We got to buy into this two-party system. Nah, I don't. I don't go to debates. I don't vote unless I feel like I actually like this candidate. The thing I can do is live my life as a good person, and regardless to whatever else. Politics, I don't think people understand being a politician is no different than being a welder or a basketball player. It's a skill set that comes along with it, and some are better than others. Some are great liars. They're able to just kind of, they're able to convince people of things that no one else would, and those are the most charismatic leaders that you see on TV all the time. But we don't fact check anymore. Our fact check is Wikipedia. Our fact check is YouTube. We need to really scrutinize what's going on and understand that we can't leave things for the next generation.
Well,
we have to do them now. You got to discern the times. It's a pendulum swing in our country, from very extreme conservative times to very extreme liberal times, and that pendulum just keeps moving. And what we got to do is discern where we're at on that pendulum swing. And I think we're moving back to more of a peaceful, loving kind, and that's what's in people's hearts. But we got to not only, it's okay to vote your conscience, but just live it out. You know what I mean? Be good to your neighbors. Exactly. Be good to your friends. You know what I mean? Be a loving, kind person and actually live by the things that we claim we should. For a country that's so in God we trust, we do a lot of devilish things. And that's what I'll say.
And that's well, and again, that last part you mentioned right there, for in God we trust type of a country, we do a lot of devilish things, and I really think it comes down to recognizing that the people in Iraq, or the people in Afghanistan, the people in Yemen, the people in all these countries, it doesn't matter where they're at, they are human beings. They feel the exact same things that we do. They have the exact same dreams that we do. They have the exact same, that if they had the ability to sit there and watch Game of Thrones, they'd be sitting there and watching Game of Thrones with us, right? So we have to understand.
I wouldn't, because I'm too gangster, but
we have to understand that in this country, because we're such a big country and because we're the world's second or first largest economy, every decision we make affects everyone else in the world, and that's an unfortunate consequence. I mean, you'd like to think you can go down to Walmart and you can purchase whatever it is that you want to purchase, and you're only affecting your local community. But the truth of the matter is, you are affecting children in China with your purchases. You're affecting people in India with your purchases. I think what most people try and do with government is they try and solve the things that they dislike by putting in some random person to go fix the problem for them. When they fail to realize that it comes down to personal responsibility, and as a consumer, the most power you have is to choose how you participate in the economy. If you have a problem with the way Walmart is doing business, or the way that some international corporation is doing business, or how their decisions are affecting other countries, well then you as a consumer need to stop shopping there. And guess what? When you put the moral pejorative, or the moral decision on Walmart's shoulders, saying, hey, if you don't do this, we're not going to shop here anymore, well, guess what? Through that personal responsibility that you took on yourself to say, hey, I'm not going to shop with you until you do X, Y, and Z, they're gonna change their policies. They're gonna do something that's better for the planet instead of something that's just extracting resources out of the planet. And that's, like you said, personal responsibility. Just being nice to people on a day-to-day basis, and just keeping it at the community level, I think, is one of the best things we can do to turn this country around.
Yes, because I do my best to feed one Negro child a week at least, and that's the best I can do. And I read in the blog somewhere, and don't quote me on this, I think it's like roughly 12.6% of Walmart's profits are donated for satanic activities. I'm pretty sure of that. It might have been in the Geneva Convention. You could double check. I don't know.
You're always quoting the Geneva Convention. I love that.
Yeah, I read it like once or twice in my spare time between being a musical genius and political god. Stuff being this great. I think we just got to stop taking ourselves so serious sometimes too. And yeah, you just got to understand the bullshit. And this is what scares me the most about our country. To whom much is given, much is required. I truly believe that. And for every action, there's a reaction. If we're using all our political clout, or whatever you want to call it, for negative, what happens when it comes back to us? What does that country look like?
Well,
what does America look like if the things that we've done to other people are now being done to us?
Exactly. And you mentioned that. I mean, this is one of those things, and this is why libertarians fight so hard for state control over federal control, because when it comes down to a local level, you have more. Like you said, there's a reaction to every action, right? And sometimes we're going to have a more liberal body in Congress and in the Senate, and that's going to push our country one direction, and then we're going to have a more conservative. And we're just going to constantly going back and forth, and it's always short term. It's never long term, and that's what I really see as the biggest problem with our federal government, is everything is very, very short sighted, because we've become so reactionary with everything. And if you give that control, take that control away from the federal government, put it back in the state's hands. We always talk about how you can vote with your feet. If you don't like what's going on in Kansas, you can either run for government yourself in the local area and try and change something at the local area, or you can simply move to Colorado, right? But when you have
Colorado made a power play for me.
Yeah.
When they legalized marijuana, they were trying to get me there. I said, "Hold on, Colorado. I'm thinking about it. Let me think about it."
I think everybody in the country at some point in time has already made up their mind that they're going to move to Colorado. But
except for Jiggy, he wants to move another way.
Yes.
He didn't want to get secondhand smoke in Kansas. He
That's
thought
right.
it'd be too close.
Well, Izreal, I guess the question's got to be asked. What do you think about the situation with the libertarians and the fact that there's all these third parties all over the country that are starting to pick up votes? And is it just the fact that people are just sick and tired of a two-party system, or what do you think about that?
Well, to call it a two-party system is really an illusion in the first place. It's different pockets, same pants. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of like the good cop, bad cop thing. It's all an act, if you ask me. They decide, the elite decide who they want to be in office, and that's what it is. And you know, we kind of, oh, you're Democrat, you're Republican. Well, if you go back and you do your history, you'll see how many people have switched back and forth from party to party. I'm a radical thinker, and the way I really think that we should do away with just one president. And what I mean is, you have your three branches of government, right? You got your legislative, you got your judicial, and you got the executive with the president. I really think that there should be three separate presidents at one time. I know that seems wild to think, but whatever party the people are from the three major parties, they should govern together. Because one person, that's a lot of pressure to put on one person. If you got two people, they'll always disagree. If you have a third person represent the people, the more representation you have, the better you are anyway. So I think if you had a three-president system, I think that would be ideal. Now, people say, oh, he's crazy. He's cuckoo. It never worked. Maybe not, but that's what I think, and I guess I'm entitled to that.
You know, I don't know how a system like that would necessarily work. I mean, I've actually never even heard or thought of that before. But
yeah, I'm a political genius, Chris. I don't know if you know, but
I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, when our government was put together, we were in different times, and our country was much smaller than it is today. And the responsibilities put on the president today are so huge. I mean, you know, everybody talks about
gray out all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say that. I mean, when you look at what happens to the president from the time he takes office to the time he leaves, they age. I mean, twice as fast as they normally should, and it's just such a stressful position. But I think a lot of that also has to do with a lot of these actions that our presidents have been taking that aren't necessarily given to them by the Constitution, like starting up these different wars, which we're calling police actions, you know. There's a lot of extra responsibility that's been tacked on because this president decided that he was going to do this and Congress didn't check him on it. Or this president decided to do this and Congress... And then that becomes a built-in responsibility for that particular branch. And, you know, obviously, too, you know, we've become more of a global society in that we're not these isolationist countries that occasionally go and beat up some little tiny island and steal all the resources. You know, it's the world is so much more complex, almost to a detriment. And I would be up for possibly restructuring the executive branch to an extent to, at the very least, take away responsibilities that the president has. Because I think the one person has too much clout or too much power and too much responsibility, and it's not an effective way to govern anymore. All these executive actions that are going on, we can call them constitutional or not, but I would say that most of the country is not comfortable with one man having that much power.
Absolutely not. And then the other thing, I don't understand why they don't. I think we should take the power away from Congress by instituting a system that actually allows for the citizens to vote on national issues without it having to be an election year. You know, we got you know, the internet now. You know what I mean? Pollers if Gallup could poll us, why can't our government poll the people? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why couldn't you log in on a website and be like, you know what? No, I disagree with that. We shouldn't murder puppies.
Well,
I'm against murdering puppies. You know, or I'm for marijuana break at work. You should be able to vote for these things. But the fact of the matter is they just don't want us to. I think that our government has planned out so long to restrict our rights and get us to this state that really the best thing we can do on an individual level, like I said, is love our people. But we got to just return to our faith in God. You know, I think that's a key component of what actually made this country great in the first place. And if you take out that factor, then we're no longer going to be the great country that we've been. And that's just what it is, you know. I think we just, like, politics is just a bunch of bullshit at the end of the day. You know, it sounds good. People say these terms or whatever because it makes them feel like they're part of something. But, you know, our founding fathers, if you will, or however you want to put it, you know, they used common sense, you know, like we should. And that's what's going to get our country back to where we need to be. Like, at the end of the day, who cares how rich our country is if the majority of people are poor? Because you're only as great as the lowest class of your citizens are doing. And a tale of how your country is how do you treat your children and your elders and your women? Like, what are you doing for those? How are they living? And when you look at those standards, we're not as good as we think we can be. But I'll say this, and I'll quit ranting. One thing we have to do is, here I go quoting Mother Teresa. She said she'd never attend an anti-war rally, but she would always go to a peace rally. And I never understood quite what she was saying until it soaked into me. If we're fighting against something, the rules of the universe, karma, however you want to put it, will make that thing fight us back. Because whatever you put out there is what you get more of. So what we got to do is not focus on all the negative things about our country, because we all know those. But let's focus on some of the great things that we've done, you know what I mean? And let's make that be our starting point for building for the future, because it makes people feel hopeful, makes people want to participate, you know what I mean? If I tell you, hey, Chris, I want to build this house, and, you know, it's going to be a great house, we're going to have fun, we're going to have this, and that, you want to help me? Or if I say, hey, man, I got to build this house, it's going to be a lot of hard work, you know, long hours, you're going to sweat, probably smash a finger. Which one are you going to want to do?
Obviously the one that's
it's the same thing,
fun,
though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know
it's just all about perception. Like, I just refuse to let people turn me into this negative person or buy into stereotypes that, you know, just don't benefit me. I hate everybody equally, okay? I don't hate anybody or any group more than anybody else. You know, if you're driving and you're in front of me and you're white and you're going slow, I hate you at that moment. If you're black and you're driving in front of me and you're going slow, I hate you equally as much. Get out of my way. That's why I think I need to just be president, Chris. I think that's what I think.
Well, let's do it. You know what? You know, 2014, or you know, the next election cycle, 2016 or whatever it is. You know, do it. Run on the Libertarian ticket, man. I think you might get some more pull.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've been thinking about changing my official title to the Supreme Ruler of Existence. Let me know how you guys think about that.
Oh my
but you get back to me. I mean, I thought that pretty much covered everything, but
just
you
covered
know.
everybody. Good
Yeah,
Lord.
you guys have been great, man.
Well, Izreal, I know you've got to get back in the studio. I just wanted to. I had Chris here, and I wanted to make sure that we got you in here because you are always fabulous, and so just wanted to make sure that we got this together.
Hey, Chris, man, it's good talking to you. It's good to talk to someone who actually has a passion to, you know, do something positive, man. Don't ever lose that. You know, always keep your faith and just, you know, do whatever it is that God's called you to do. Don't be afraid. Say whatever it is you want to say, man. Change the world. You know, we need people who aren't afraid to do that. And, man, there's very few people who have a compassion. You can sit on your couch and look at things and be like, you know what, I'll take these steps to protect my family, but you care enough to want to inform the public and you know, do better. For that, I commend you. you also have my support. If there's anything I could do for you, talk shit to somebody, I'll do it. No problem.
I
Find
appreciate
dirt
it, man.
on people.
I appreciate that.
And, pretty much anything. I know some powerful people in low places, Chris, and that's how you get things done in politics.
That's exactly how you get things done in politics, my friend.
Hey, you guys, go find me on iz316.com. I got some new blogs coming out. I got a new blog that I'm recording for KJAG coming up this week that I'll be getting to Jiggy. And, man, however I can support you guys, that's IZ, like Eyes and Isaac, Z is in Zealous, 316.com.
Good stuff. Well, Izreal, we're looking forward to it, and we'll talk to you next week, my friend.
Peace.
Appreciate
Later.
it.
Thanks, man.
Izreal joining us today. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we are going to get a hold of Labette Larry, but we've got Farrah Washington coming up in the next hour. And also, we're going to talk to Chris about some of his motivations and some of the different things and why he's running for office on the Libertarian side. We're going to do that all when we get back here on the big broadcast, coast to coast.